Hey everyone, Aether Revolt has already made some big impacts in Standard, but we have yet to talk about Commander, arguably the most exciting format to fit new cards into. In this video, we'll go over each legendary creature, where they fit, and if you can build around them. It's time for our Commander Deck Tech Spotlight. If you enjoy these videos and want more of them in the future, be sure to hit that like button, helps out a lot. We'll begin with Hope of Gyroper. 1 mana for a 1/1 legendary artifact creature Thopter with flying. You can sacrifice it, and until your next turn, target player who was dealt combat damage by the Hope this turn can't cast non-creature spells. This is certainly a silly card. Hope is a 1/1 for 1, so you probably won't win via commander damage. Also, when you sacrifice it, you can only target one player. Clearly the card wasn't designed for commander dominance. But if you want to build it anyways, I do have some suggestions to be as annoying as possible. Since you want to keep the Hope alive until the last possible moment, you'll need your standard equipment like Lightning Greaves and Swiftfoot Boots. Lockstone Warhammer's funny, and worst case scenario, you can keep killing the Hope for Skullclam cards. However, my favorite equipment, Blade of Selves. Of course you'll need Mirror Gallery, but imagine getting a myriad of Hopes, getting all their triggers, then arresting your opponent's spellcasting for a turn. Dirtily? Yes, but still hilarious. Also, the Hope synergy with Mimic Vat and Nim Deathmantle, I'll take it. Anything to bring it back without insane command zone costs. Who knows, could end up being awesome. Unfortunately, besides that, the Thopter legend doesn't exactly give you an advantage that other colorless legends lack. You're more or less going to be running an artifact synergistic colorless deck looking to take advantage of having mass artifacts, or cheating artifacts into play, the usual. I think Hope is much better in something like Alicia Who Smiles at Death, Breya, Ethereum Shaper, or Captain Sisay. Each of these strategies takes advantage of a different aspect of the Thopter. Alicia loves the flying and low power, Breya adores Thopters and has a ton of artifact synergy, and the Hope is a decent toolbox target for Captain Sisay. These are my top recommendations for the Hope. Sram Senior Edificer is 2 mana for a 2/2 legendary creature Dwarf Advisor. Whenever you cast an aura, equipment, or vehicle spell, draw a card. Sram is an interesting case. His trigger is clearly very powerful, and you don't have to think too hard about the types of cards he synergizes with. The problem? You want green and red in this deck. Auras and vehicles are both better in 2 or even 3 color decks. It's not often I say this, but I actually would rather include Sram in the 99 than play him as the commander the vast majority of the time. Now, if you do want him to lead the charge, you can absolutely do that. Ethereal Armor, Spirit Mantle, Shielded by Faith, Daybreak Coronet. These are just a few of the many auras at your disposal. They join equipment powerhouses in Pure Steel Paladin, Steel Shaper's Gift, Open the Armory, Helm of the Gods, and plenty more. There's no lack of gas for this strategy. And if you want to build Sram mono white, you have all the pieces you could ever need. But for me, I'm aiming for the sky. Let's talk about releasing Sram's inner power. The only 2 commanders I think Sram is perfect for, Dapala and Ural. Dapala brings with her more vehicles than you can count, and a dwarf tribal strategy that Sram can benefit from. Nothing like being grabbed by Dwarven Recruiter early in the game no matter where Sram is. There are advantages to being pseudo-tribal. In this strategy, he may not draw the most cards for you, but he'll be more powerful and protected on average due to his dwarf tribal synergy. And you'll have easier access to him over the long term. It's not a bad deal. Personally, I think Ural is the best place for Sram. I love him in this deck. You're playing auras constantly at a much higher rate than equipment or vehicles, neither Dapala or Sram, and if you've played Ural before, you know that players have a hard enough time dealing with the creatures you have already. Adding Sram to that list, not going to be fun for the table. He demands an immediate answer, and at worst, he'll be taking priority over some of your other enchantment-based cantrippers. It isn't the flashiest job ever for Sram, but it's an important one. I love him in Ural, Dapala, and his own deck will be serviceable as well. Enjoy his craziness. Baral, Chief of Compliance, is 2 mana for a 1/3 legendary creature human wizard. Instant and sorcery spells you cast cost 1 less to cast. Whenever a spell or ability you control counters a spell, you may draw a card. If you do, discard a card. If there were an obvious legend made for Commander to come out of Aether Revolt, it would be Baral, hands down, not even close. This guy is an all-star. Bringing a whole new definition to mono blue control in Commander, if built correctly, Baral will assuredly help you lose any friends you have and any potential friends you might have in the future. You combine this with other enablers like Jace's Sanctum, Sapphire Medallion, Isochron Scepter, and Sphinx Bone Wand, and then you just stop everyone from doing anything. Whether it's through choking their mana with Rhystic Study, or returning the best creatures or artifacts to their hands with Brawl's expertise, or simply countering everything known to man, it doesn't matter, Brawl does it all. That should be a friggin' slogan. This dude's a true nightmare. Even the earliest builds of the deck have him as formidable as Talrand, and if you've played against Talrand before, you know what I'm talking about. Rest in peace, the fun police are coming for ya. Even when he isn't leading the pack, Brawl is still a shoo-in all over the format thanks to his crazy cost reduction trigger, loot effect, and wizard creature type. He has so much to offer. Azami wants him, Mizzix wants him, Melek wants him, Yidris wants him. The list goes on. The dude's a true nightmare, and you should expect to see him in these spell-based blue decks from now until eternity ends. So begins the reign of Brawl. Yahenni Undying Partisan is 3 mana for a 2/2 legendary creature Aetherborn Vampire with haste. Whenever a creature an opponent controls dies, put a +1/+1 counter on Yahenni. You can also sacrifice another creature, and Yahenni gains indestructible until end of turn. Yahenni being mono black doesn't limit the strategy, but you're looking to create a huge sacrifice engine with this Aetherborn legend. Luckily, mono black does have some staples for this very idea. Blood Artist, Butcher of Malakir, Dictate of Erebos, Grave Pact. These cards all thrive on sacrificing your own creatures, which you will be doing quite a lot, hoping to win via commander damage, or by choking out your opponents with these asymmetrical effects. Fodder for sacrificing is easier to get in other colors, but we have some options. You can run Pawn of Ulamog for a steady stream or sacrificial lambs. Bloodline Keeper is fine. Endrick Ser has always been good in strategies like these. And once you get your sacrifice engine going, there are cards like Overseer of the Damned to help you keep the chain going without much hassle. To clarify, there are plenty of cards to help you take advantage of sacrificing creatures and to get you creatures to sacrifice. And while this is an important part of the deck, well, you're playing mono black, so we need some more destruction. Remember, Yahenni gets a counter whenever an opponent's creature dies, so let's find more ways to kill them. Decree of Pain, Flashback Marauder, Life's Finale, Deadly Tempest. There you go, that's a good start. Anyways, building the rest of the deck from there is pretty simple. Yahenni also follows as well as it leads, earning spots in Atraxa strategies, Marin, obviously, because everything can fit into Marin somehow, and Marchesa the Black Rose. Being able to give a counter to yourself in that deck makes you pretty good. Yahenni has a healthy future in this format, but my favorite place for it, the lead role for sure. Kari Zev Skyship Raider is 2 mana for a 1/3 legendary creature human pirate with First Strike and Menace. Whenever she attacks, create a legendary 2/1 red monkey token named Ragavan that's tapped and attacking. Exile that token at end of combat. I know your first instinct is to build a deck around her because she is a pirate. Believe me, I totally understand that, but you have to hold off. Mono red is not the place for an entire pirate deck. With that said, Kari Zev doesn't make the best commander, unfortunately. Not only is she in mono red, one of the most difficult colors to get off the ground on its own, but she isn't that impactful by herself. The only synergy I can think of that's actually hilarious is Hero's Blade when Ragavan enters the battlefield. That's just funny. But besides that, you're looking at a normal mono red aggro deck that I think is piloted better elsewhere, unfortunately. I'm not trying to rain on her parade or anything, but if I'm running mono red, you'd have to make a pretty convincing case to make me build a deck around her instead of, say, Grenzo Havoc Razor, or Perforos God of the Forge, or even something ridiculous like Heartless Hidetsugu. My point is that Kari Zev is a strong card. It is, but it was clearly not designed to break the commander format. I know, I'm kinda sad too. Rishkar Pima Renegade is 3 mana for a 2/2 legendary creature elf druid. When he enters the battlefield, put a +1/+1 counter on each of up to 2 target creatures. Each creature you control with a counter on it has the ability to tap and add 1 green mana to your mana pool. Well, Rishkar has one job and one job only: put all the counters on everything. Thankfully, mono green comes with a decent amount of counter-granting cards that will let your entire team become one huge mana ramp machine. You've got evolved creatures that get counters by themselves, Nissa Voice of Zendikar, which makes your deck easy mode, cards like Forgotten Ancient, which don't need any help at all. Then you can use a ton of room for +1/+1 payoff cards like Armorcraft Judge, Inspiring Call, Solidarity of Heroes, and Hardened Scales. Then after you've done all that, after you have your counters and your mana acceleration, you go big. I'm talking Regal Force, Lifeblood Hydra, Craterhoof Behemoth, Avenger of Zendikar. The sky's the limit here. Rishkar is a mana ramp machine, and of the available Aether Revolt commanders, he's one of the ones with a healthy, proven synergy behind him. This deck is actually pretty cool. If you don't want Rishkar leading the way, that's not a problem at all. He's a counter machine, right? Animar, Gave, Atraxa, Azuri, the 4 most popular commanders for this type of card. Rishkar is easy to include in any of those, if anywhere at all. The future is bright for this elf druid. Don't let the standard spotlight distract you from his very clear potential in Commander. And that's going to do it for the legends in Aether Revolt. What'd you think? Have you started building with any of them in Commander yet? Made your own decks, fit them into existing strategies? I obviously can't talk about every single deck in these videos, so please, if you've thought of something particularly interesting, leave it in the comments. I'm always interested to hear what you brainiacs have come up with. One of the exciting parts of having such a passionate community. So again, be sure to leave all your thoughts below and we'll talk about it. As always, thanks for watching and we'll see you next time. This video is brought to you in part by TCGplayer.com. While the legends from Aether Revolt are pretty sweet, there are two I want you to pay extra attention to right now. Baral and Yahenni. Both of them are hilariously cheap, and it's the perfect time to grab yourself a copy if you need it for Commander. Baral is sitting at an easy $2. Personally, I think that's a bit low once Commander players really get a hold of him. Dude has serious value, and honestly, same for Yahenni. This card's $1. A single dollar. Come on. You have to know that these prices are hilariously low, right? If you need either of these awesome legends, click the links on the screen, get your Commander goodness cheap. It helps the channel, we all win together. What a great time. Enjoy.